Welcome to the session on academic writing. And today we are going to discuss about coherence, actually on coherence. And I tell you, when I think about the world, whatever is happening, whether be China's issue of COVID, the whole world blaming, or whether be it's religious or political or social issues which happen throughout the world, I always feel it's because uh, you know, we are not coherent about our ideas. Though we have diplomatic affair minister who try to deal everything very diplomatically, but still we miss out meaning of what we intend to say. And if you look at coherence, this what it means, meaning in your interrelated statement. Yes. So sometimes it do make me baffled that even if we try to be so articulate, how do we miss out meaning? I tell you, I many a times miss out meaning, and I may not be so easily comprehended in the class. It may happen with me too. So it's today we are going to talk about the technical nitty gritties of coherence. Okay. Now let's talk about why we talk about coherence, why coherence became so important. You see, since 1970s, as my fellow professors have told me, and that what I'm communicating to you, and I verified from the books even, that a great change came into the world of writing, where, the red letter man, they started talking about uh, that reader is very important. That is, you attitude is very important. And view attitude, we say reader is very important. So when reader becomes very important, our writing should be so easy to understand. Should the words, the language structure, it should flow with such an ease that reader is able to understand. Well, I can see literary scholars over here. So when if you look at Rolabard's statement, Rolabard's topic, death of an author, it talks about that why death of an author is so important and birth of a reader is very significant. And you all know that. Even if you look at Noam Chomsky and Ferdinand de Saussure, the linguist, they talk about communication and they talk about various characteristics of communication and how can we make it more easy to understand. Well, to talk about how to be articulate in speech, we have read about, like if you read about Professor Mehrabian, he's been talking about body language and voice tone and facial expression, how it's so important in order to communicate when you are in order to be comprehended when you are speaking. Well, so you see, this coherence become very important, and I would like to tell you that this subject as communication, which came up in the Western world since late 80s, and in Indian world, it came late 90s and beginning of 2000, but still they were a little hesitant to make it float as a fully developed subject. But later on, they found it importance. Now, connecting it to this academic writing, you know, uh, it's very important to communicate whatever you are writing in a very with at ease. I'm not talking about your piece of writing which is very creative, like your poem or your novel or your play, you know or your essays that you're writing, because that's your creative world where you try to write something. Sometimes you use complex structures like Salman Rushdie, because Salman Rushdie generally picks up very controversial subjects, like talking about being satirical about religion or political controversies, religion like satanic verses, political concept like shame or midnight children, talking about American dream and fury. So he picks up that kind of, and so he uses magical um, uh, realism, and he creates that kind of a complex structure so that his real intention is dwelled deep down into the sentence or the expression. But otherwise, when we talk about academic writing means whether you talk about your research paper or whether you talk about report comprises of your proposal, synopsis, project, dissertation, thesis. We have to write with in a simpler manner. with simple sentences, with simple expressions, and then only we can be coherent enough to be understood by the world. Because the red letter man in the world, they believe its reader is very important. Our subject matter should be communicated to them. They should be easily understanding us what we mean to say. And so, you know, we come to so we need to have that ability to write effectively. Now, today we are going to discuss on the topic is sentence, paragraph development, topic sentence, coherence, unity, adequate development. Now, I tell you, to achieve coherence, these are the very important, elements which should be there in order to achieve coherence. Now, I tell you, in the first sentence that I've written on the top, it could have been more coherent. I've written topics for discussion today, considering the understanding of coherence in writing. Oh my God, such a meandering sentence, isn't it? We could have written simply, uh, uh, you know, content for today on coherence. Yes, so it could have given ease of understanding to the reader. This meandering sentence becomes difficult for the reader to understand. It takes time, And when there are too many meandering sentences, reader gets really, um, uh, you know, digressed and gets distracted. So simply we could have written, like I could have written, content for today on coherence. So here we go with sentence. Now, I tell you, my supervisor used to tell me in my MA dissertation, or whether be in my PhD for 2 years, for 2 years I just had to write my article on different topics of my thesis. And every time he used to tell me that, Rina, ease off your language, make it simpler. Why you're using complex structures if you want to say something? And I tell you, my students, today you can, after this class, whenever if you want, today evening or night, you can sit and you can write, just one paragraph and see that whether you're able to write a complex structure very easily or a simple structure very easily. And to, as to the wise men's statement, they always say that to write a complex structure is very easy than simple statements. So to achieve coherence, it's very important that your sentences should be simple, should be lucid, easy to understand. So what do we understand by sentence? A sentence of group of words that makes complete sense. Now, I don't doubt, definitely I know you know how to create a good sentence. Yes, so I'm not doubting on your ability of creating a sentence which is somewhat free from grammatical errors. But my point is that whether your sentence could be understood clearly or not, that's where we have to look at. Okay. Now, see, sentences, like, and there's one more fact to it. When you write simple sentences, what happens, it gives ease, as I have been telling you, ease to the reader to understand. But it also depends upon the audience. Now, for using terms, like you have already had a good discussion by a veteran teacher, Dr. Vinaya ma'am, about words. So, definitely the terminologies that you use, for some it might be jargon, for some it might be very simple word to understand. Like, for example, if a doctor, meets a patient. So if a doctor is talking about a problem to the patient, a disease to a patient, so to a patient, it would be say that you have some fault in your blood. But to the knowledgeable person, the doctor might say that your WBC count is low. And to another doctor, it might say that your T lymphocyte count is low. So you see, it also depends upon that what kind of audience you have. You have homogeneous audience of the same background as you belong to, the speaker belongs to, for whom you're writing, or it belongs to a heterogeneous world. So this also, it very much depends on. Now let's move towards how to achieve, uh, you know, oh, I have not I've not started my video. Okay. So am I visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So now let's talk about how to achieve, effective sentence. Now, first characteristics is that we need to prefer shorter sentence. Now, when we talk about shorter sentence, it means that simplicity in writing, which can be achieved mainly by writing shorter sentence, because uh, shorter sentence convey meaning better than longer ones. But preferring shorter sentence does not mean that you do not use long sentences at all. Yes, you can be required to use longer sentence, but you have to construct them meticulously so that the clarity is achieved. uh, you see, when we speak, when we give a speech, then definitely you can use that long sentences, to good effect, by using appropriate pauses, intonations, and body language. Why? Because you have these methods, your pause, your intonation, your body language, which can help you to use longer sentences. So in but as these non-verbal and paralinguistic features are missing in writing, we need to be very careful in framing our sentences. The best sentence is that which a reader can understand in very first reading. So, when we prepare a technical document, we should all, understand that we need to use all type of sentences, but it should be a judicious mix of short and long sentences. So, so that it arouses interest in the reader, and it does not break it also helps the reader to break the monotony of reading the type of sentences. Okay, so the first sentence that we talk of, the first characteristics so we are talking about is to prefer shorter sentence. Like for example, the original shorter sentence is written in this way: the experiment was over, I completed the report, I shut down the power supply, I submitted the report to the instructor, I left the laboratory. Now, a revised one could be: I completed the report as soon as the experiment was over. After shutting down the power supply, a syntax, a comma is used. I submitted the report to my instructor, again, a comma is used, and left the laboratory. So this way you can achieve your shorter sentence by using commas. We are not saying that you pick up small sentences and put full stop and use it. Okay. But you can use syntax, you can use commas and your punctuation actually, and you can make it easy to understand. Now, the next that we talk about is to be, is be stringent with words. Now, when we talk about to be stringent with words, we have to understand that. Just hold on a bit. Yes. So now in this, what happens? Be stringent with words means we need to be really frugal with words. We need to achieve economical use of words, and that is what is very important when we talk about stringent with words. Like for example, the first is we need to avoid uh, cluttering phrases. Now this cluttering phrases is, the statement is, in the event of procrastination. Now you see there are too many phrases. It's why it is cluttering, because the too many phrases have been put together and the sentence has been created, which does not seem uh, very clear to us. In the event of procrastination and dilatory action, the operations will be shunned. It could be very simply written: if there is delay in action, the operation will be cancelled. So, using the word like procrastination or dilatory action, I'm not saying you should not use it, but a judicious use of words is very important, so that you can, economical use of words, which becomes easy for the reader to understand. It does not develop, because of complexity, the reader might lose interest in the work that you're writing. And because it's the work that you're writing, your main aim is that it should reach to the reader, maximum reader, and they should understand your concept, because your concept is very important than your complex structure, than your ornamented, you know, writing style. So that's why, you know, throughout the world, I would like to give you one example. I had physics, like biophysics and chemistry in my 12th, 11, 12, and we used to always say there was a book. I don't know whether you had studied or not from that. It's a very old book of physics, Resnick and Halliday. And I tell you, it used to be so difficult to understand. The language was so difficult to understand. And we used to say, oh my God, this book is so good. It's such a good book written and so difficult to understand. Now we are saying it's so good and we are saying difficult to understand. So if we are not able to understand how that book could be a good one. And now I realize the fact that, you know, that maybe that book may be good, but it was not good for the reader. Maybe the content would have been good, but it could not communicate easily to the reader that what does it mean, you know, with those equations and those facts written over there. It was very difficult for us to comprehend. We always required a teacher to, you know, go through every exercise and tell us how it could be solved and what does it mean. So that's what I'm talking about, that when you are talking about your academic piece of writing, what your aim is, that it should be understood, you know, very clearly by the reader. Okay, now next comes up is that we need to, you know, uh, second one is avoid redundant phrase. Now, what do you mean by redundancy? Yes, redundancy is where we are using those words, which is kind of repetition and which does not, you know, give you accomplishment of your meaning. So, like in original statement, it has been written, it has been glaringly noticed from the records of the account that the company faced great loss in this fiscal years. Now, it could have been very simply written, as I told you that I have written that statement to, you know, the first statement for my content, I wrote that today's topic for your comprehension is, you know, coherence, rather than it could be today's content of coherence. So the same way. So it could be like, you know, it could be very easily written. The records of the account indicate that company faced great loss in this fiscal year, isn't it? Very simply, if you could communicate, that would have made the world look easy. Now, roundabout expressions. I tell you, my teachers in my convent used to always tell me that use simpler statements. I know when you use your roundabout expressions, when you are somewhere mistaken and you have to give explanation to for it, and then you try to create your roundabout expressions. Like, you know, if your parents, you know, you're like in front of your parents, you are caught at the wrong foot, you try to create all the roundabout expressions in order to clear yourself. Yes. So, otherwise, coming back to academic writing, uh, you see, roundabout expressions, we should really try to keep it at bay. We should try to write as simple as possible. You know, like for example, uh, we say, if there are any points on which you require explanation or further details, we shall be glad to furnish such additional detail as may be required by the telephone. You see, so we what we are doing, we are not saying it very simply that if you have any questions, please contact us over phone. What we are doing, we are using meandering sentences, longer sentences, where the meaning is getting lost, you know, because meaning is not emphasized first. The main thought is not being emphasized first. So that meaning is getting lost in that meandering sentences. So we need to be a little careful about that. Okay. Uh, Next is to, you know, we say avoid needless repetition. And this is something I have seen, a very common mistake that we do, that we say my basic fundamentals of English are not clear. So basic and fundamental both means the same. So if we write my fundamentals of English are not clear, it will make it more easier for the person to understand. Yes, I hope you. I will give you a practice session on this. Don't worry, and I hope you are picking up what I'm telling you or what I'm trying to impart. Yes, because you see, I can't see students. Uh, I can see only the shared screen, so it's becoming difficult for me. And this is where I feel the barrier with the online classes. So, are you able to understand what I'm telling you, dear students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
we'll do a
ma'am.
practice session, and you'll be able to understand what I mean to say. Okay, now uh, it is now next statement, next very important dictum for uh, effective sentences is prefer right ordering and proper emphasis. Now, why right ordering is very important? Because in order to convey the exact meaning of what we wish to say, we must put words in right order. A lot of information goes into sentence, but all of it is not necessarily of equal importance. So if you're writing, for example, any of your academic writing, research paper you have to write, I know, uh, you know summer semester. So uh, so when you're writing that, you need to understand that the introduction and conclusion are more important than rest of the element. So we already know that the sentence length affects the emphasis. So it is short sentence which carries more emphasis than the longer ones. But as I have been telling you, it depends upon the document. You may require to write longer sentence, but in writing longer sentence, there should be clarity. Yes, we should not compromise clarity while writing longer sentence, and a longer sentence should be mixed of write a small and longer sentence, so that the reader develops ease in understanding it. Otherwise, if you use too much of longer sentence, if you read Salman Rushdie, or this I'm forgetting the name, from whom Salman Rushdie was very much influenced. If you read the book, you'll find that he has been writing very complex structures where the scholars find it very difficult to read. To read 100 pages, you feel very difficult. Uh, your mind gets consumed. You are very tired. You develop. So what you have to do is, but that's a creative piece of writing where, in order to, state something which he does not want to say openly, he's using that method of mixing the myth and history with reality, and he's trying to portray. But your aim when you're writing your technical document, whether be a research paper, for example, you have to use simpler sentence, or longer sentence. If you're writing, you have to be very judicious with it. Okay, so in this, what happens when you're writing sentence, you have to see that what order you have to follow. Like, for example, the main part of your sentence, the something which is very important for you to communicate, it should come before. So that what you want to communicate should be stated before and should be emphasized, rather than the thing that which is not very important for us. And generally we commit this error. Like, for example, if you look at this statement, the report was completed in time. The completion took place in spite of difficulties. Now, what is very important for us is that in spite of difficulties, the report was completed in time. But what we have done, we have not given right emphasis, and we have not placed, we have not checked the right order of the sentence. So what we have stated, the report was completed in time, the completion took place in spite of difficulty. But over here, what we actually mean to say is that in spite of difficulties, the report was completed in time. I have missed off from there, I'm sorry, in time. So this what we have to understand, you see, that that right emphasis and our main sentence should be kept before, our main thought, sorry, should be kept before in the sentence than a secondary thought. Okay, so secondary thought should not be given that priority while writing the sentence. Okay, uh, next is prefer active to passive voice. Yes, I believe in your class 9, 10th, 11th, 12th, when you've been writing your essay, you have been told many a times by your teacher that prefer active to passive voice. Because when we try to write passive voice, we tend to lose the meaning, of the sentence. And, and so it becomes difficult for the reader to understand or to comprehend because we lose the meaning in it. Like, for example, it's the first statement is written in passive voice. Our implementation of this new procedure is required by board of directors. Yes, but it could be written in active voice straight away. The board of directors requires us to implement this new procedure. Okay, uh, like for example, uh, another example could be that my first visit to your organization will always be remembered. In your speech you can say like this because you have your expressions like, my first visit to the organization will always be remembered. Now what I'm saying when I'm saying this passive statement, if I'm speaking to you, I'm trying to emphasize, stress each word to make you feel that meaning. But actually when we write it's difficult. So it's better to go for active voice when we are writing. So we can very easily say that I will remember my first visit to your organization, or I will always remember my first visit to your organization. So you see, that's where, though I definitely I do agree that all this, punctuation, syntax, prepositions, conjunctions, all this really helps in writing to give the meaning to whatever you are speaking. Like when we speak and when we write, so we help out giving the same meaning. What we want to express by these methods, by article a and or the. If it is important for us, we put the. If it's general, we say a and. So prepositions helps us out a lot. Conjunction helps us out a lot. Using various types of punctuation helps us to convey the almost the correct meaning which we have stated, in spoken language. So yes, definitely we do have, but still, we it's difficult to match with the spoken language. So we prefer active voice to passive voice so that our meaning tends to become clear. Now, this ambiguous sentences, I tell you. We do create such mistakes. This example over here you see is of modifier, but there are many other sentences that we create seems to be very ambiguous. And what happens? Why should we avoid ambiguous statement? Because it's a hindrance to clarity, which in turn results in a communication going awry. The faulty construction of sentences gives rise to ambiguity, and ambiguity arises mainly because of misplaced modifiers in a sentence. A modifier, what is a modifier? A modifier is a word, phrase, clause which tells something about a verb, a noun, or an adjective in the sentence. The position of a modifier in a sentence is very important. Whether it is in a word or a phrase or clause, it should be placed as near as possible to the word we are trying to modify. Yes. So, like, if you look at this statement, the delay in transit nearly drove the manager frantic. Now, this nearly is actually a modifier. And what we want to say is that the manager became frantic. Yes. But if we keep it near drove, then the meaning becomes really ambiguous. Yes. So, what should we would have written? The delay in transit drove the manager nearly frantic. So the frantic, nearly should be used before frantic because we mean to say that manager became very frantic. Yes. Similarly, it's a very common statement, a very common mistake we all make, while writing. Like, there's a statement that uh, I went to the market with a carry bag. I bought tomato and placed the tomatoes in the carry bag. I came home and I threw it. Now, when I say I came home and I threw it, now it you will understand, because it's clear to you that definitely I'm not going to throw tomatoes. I'll be throwing the carry bag. But actually, when you will read, you will find that it is not very clear whether we are throwing tomatoes or whether we are throwing carry bag. It's not very clear to us, isn't it? And and very conveniently we use it. Uh, you know, uh, we three of us went for a long walk, and while coming back, he came back or something like that, which where that he is not very clear that who came back with you. Yes. So, when you're writing your sentence, we very conveniently make this mistake that we put the pronoun without understanding that what, where it relates to whom it relates to. And we feel that, oh, it's very much understood by us. But why we understand? Because it's we who are writing it. But it's very difficult for the reader to comprehend that what does that it mean. Yes, and mind me, now you will realize when you will be writing your sentence that this is the very common error that we commit. Yes, okay. Uh, Now we'll talk about paragraph unity and coherence. Now, first we look at paragraph. So, what do we understand by paragraph? A paragraph is a single sentence or a group of sentences that forms a unit. Now, you see, single sentence or a group of sentences that forms a unit. In other words, it is a group of related sentence which expresses a single idea. Yes. So, we have to understand that, uh, a paragraph should have a single idea which is expressed throughout the paragraph. And when that idea changes, we need to change the paragraph. Now, otherwise, your paragraph will not be coherent. Well, we'll talk about coherence because we have talked about sentence, because if you're not able to frame effective sentences, then you will not be able to frame a good paragraph. And if your paragraph does not have a single idea, then you cannot make your whole content coherent. So we need these understanding in order to understand. We need to understand these points in order to understand coherence. Now, let's talk about topic sentence. uh, Topic sentence is actually a controlling idea or a sentence that is, we see throughout, uh, the idea is framed throughout the paragraph that expresses the main idea of a paragraph. Now, this sentence is also known as key sentence or theme sentence, and all other sentences in the paragraph must explain or illustrate the topic sentence. Okay. Now, you see, when we talk about this topic sentence may occur in the beginning of a paragraph. Now, starting a topic sentence, starting a paragraph with a topic sentence is a very common method in technical document. And it is, found very useful because it makes easily reader understand that what you mean to say. It's a best way to achieve clarity and in unity in one's writing. And it is the most common paragraph arrangement, and which we see in technical informations. In fact, this arrangement is so appreciated for structuring technical information that most writers feel that it can be used for virtually all paragraph in a technical document. Now, what I'll do, the same paragraph I'll use for beginning and ending a paragraph with a topic sentence. I'll use the same paragraph, but the topic sentence will be changed in both. So I'm reading about beginning a paragraph with a topic sentence. It's like this. In order to minimize conflict and increase efficiency, work must be divided equitably among team members. Now, this is the topic sentence, which will explain the whole paragraph with this particular thought. Okay, so what is the topic sentence? In order to minimize conflict and increase efficiency, work must be divided equitably among team members. So, and after that statement follows, overburdening one individual will equally lead to resentment and conflict. In addition, when assigning tasks to various team members, the team must consider not only the quantity of work to be undertaken by an individual, but also the nature of the work. For example, editing a document is really as interesting as drafting. If someone has consistently assigned the task of editing, they are liable to get bored and thus effective, where feasible team members should rotate through both the less challenging and more interesting tasks. So, what they have done, they have tried to explain the same topic sentence by stating what was the topic sentence, that we need to, in order to minimize the conflict and to increase the efficiency, we need to divide the work equally among all team members. Now, the same method, and this is you see called as deductive method. Beginning a paragraph with a topic sentence, this is also called as deductive method of topic sentence. Now, ending a paragraph with a topic sentence means that what you do, you explain all your thought, like um, inductive method, we call it. Inductive method means one statement you wrote, then again through that you created, induced another statement, then you induced another statement, or you created another statement, and in the end you conclude your statement, or in the end you put your topic sentence. Okay, so that what is mean ending a paragraph with a topic sentence. It is not very much in use, but yes, we do write in this form. Uh, but it is yes, of course, it is a second most common paragraph arrangement. And in this, I have already told you that how do we go about it. So I'll just read the statement. So what we'll find that the topic sentence will come in the end. When assigning tasks to various team members, the team must consider not only the quantity of work to be undertaken by an individual, but also the nature of the work. For example, editing a document is really as interesting as drafting it. If someone is consistently assigned the task of editing, they are liable to get bored and thus ineffective. Where feasible team members should rotate through both less challenging and more interesting tasks, but overburdening one individual will quickly lead to the resentment and conflict. Hence, in order to minimize the conflict and increase efficiency, work must be divided inequitably among team members. So we find that the topic sentence comes in the end. So uh, let's talk about ending a paragraph with a topic sentence. You see, this kind of a style of writing, with the topic sentence coming in the middle, we find it very. It's very uncommon. And where do we find this kind of a method of writing? Generally, we find it in the the novels or the work where it's about suspense or thrill. Like in school days, we would have read Enid Blyton, Famous Five, Nancy Drew, and then later on, when we grew up, we read Agatha Christie, Alfred Hitchcock. So what we found that the topic sentence is where it's in the middle. Now, why it is in the middle? Because they don't want to open the real thrill, by stating what they are trying to find. So what they do, you're reading, you start your book, you read about it, and then you are trying to find out that why it is happening. And in the middle, reaching the middle of the book, you realize that, oh, acha, this is the reason why it's happening. And now after that, when you read, you try to find that killer or that person who had created this kind of happening. Okay, so generally we find that this type of topic sentence is in the buried, in the middle of the paragraph. Okay, I hope I'm clear. Now, to give you, uh, this is something which has really boggled me for days. Now, can you see this picture? Are you able to see this picture?
Yes, mom.
Now,
Yes, ma'am.
anybody who can tell me the name of this place? This golden tomb, if you can see, it's very famous. And a few days back, it was there in the news. Okay, ciao, I'll tell you. This is
It's
mosque.
Mecca or Medina, I think.
No, beta. This is mosque, which is in Jerusalem, in Israel, uh, Al Aqsa Mosque. And for years since 1960s, Palestinian and Israel has been in constant conflict because of this mosque. So why I say it's coherent, it's understood, it's we find things very well arranged or very happy, or you can say we can see harmony in it, because what Jews they do, Jews, they reside in Israel. They've been, after First World War, Jews were given their own nation as Israel. But Palestinians, because they were living there since ages, so they have not been asked to leave that place. And since then, they have been in a constant conflict. Okay, well, forget it. Just look at this picture. You'll find that actually what Jews do, they pray at the outer, standing at the outer side of this wall. Okay, and Muslims they pray inside this mosque. Okay, so it looks very harmonious, it's coherent. Yes, well, and I tell you, for all the three religions, whether be Zionism, that is followed by Jews, Christians, and Muslims, this place or mosque is very, very significant. Jews have the belief that their first sermon by the prophet was given over here only at this particular place where this mosque is situated. And Muslims have also the same belief, and Christians, for them, this Jerusalem is very, very holy and pious. Now, this picture you see, I say it's incoherent, or we see incoherence over here, because the place of worship, we find forces. And in few days back in news, it was there that Palestinian and Israel were in, they were throwing bombs at each other, and they were literally violent at each other because of this place of worship. Okay, so there are political issues also related to it. We'll not groove into it, but we'll just look at the religious unity or religious thought. Okay, uh, now let's see why we say that picture was had incoherence in it. So let's look at the reason for incoherence. So what we find, first thing, very important, that we lack the comprehension of main controlling idea. And what was that main controlling idea? And I would like to tell you that for a paragraph, you can see, you can make belief of Jews, belief of Muslim, and belief of Christians, sorry. So it should be Christian, sorry. And these three statements or sentences or statements would become a paragraph, and your main controlling idea, there should be but main controlling idea, which could make this paragraph coherent. And why that picture was incoherent? Because that place was place of religion. Yes, so religion means, people are praying, people are in harmony, and in the name of God there should be no violence. But that it was not happening that way. The people were, in conflict on the name of religion, on the name of God, and so they were acting in an inhumane way. Yes. So I want you to do one thing, that you can create a main controlling idea, and you can write sentences for belief of Jews, belief of Muslims, and belief of Christians, and create a paragraph. And let's see how it comes out. And please read it out for us. Will you be able to do that? See, I'll just give you a little hint. What should be the main controlling idea? And you can create it in your, you should write it, with your own understanding. You should frame effective sentences for that. That's what we aim to. Main controlling idea over here would mean that there is one supreme God, and all the religion in the world is just manifestation of that supreme being. Yes. And then what you can do is you can write the belief of Jews with that particular main controlling idea, belief of Muslims with that main controlling idea, connecting it to it, and belief of Christians with connecting it to the main controlling idea that uh, there is one supreme being and all the religions are manifestations of it. So will you be able to create a paragraph and just read it out?
Yes, ma'am, you can.
See, don't worry. You are just, it's a way of giving you a practice, because I thought I should pick up something which we, you as youngster, you as a thinking pot, you as thinking mind, who have joined this academic writing on your own, you see, you are definitely kind of a people who really think and who want answers for everything. So, this topic which was there in the news really made me puzzled and baffled that on name of religion, on the name of God, we are creating this kind of a conflict in the world. And this is not good. We are killing other human being on the name of God. We are accusing God actually for this. We are not creating any kind of religious harmony, but we are creating, accusation on God, on the name of God. So I thought this will also strike your imagination and will definitely intrigue you to write something about it. So I picked up this piece of picture for you to comprehend. So let's have a few just speak about it, frame it, and quickly we can have a reading of your small piece that you've written.
Well, ma'am, I haven't written it yet, but I will just try to
Just
try to describe this picture in my own words.
definitely
On my
just do it
phone,
now.
on yes, yes, on my phone screen there is a picture of a mosque which is popularly known as Al Aqsa Mosque, and the beliefs of the three main religion. This mosque actually contains the beliefs of three main religions, that they are Jews, Muslims, and Christianity. But if you go according to the if you go as per the beginning of the religion, then I think Jews have the most valid argument on it, because we all know that
For
Jews
the
are
first
the
one.
oldest.
Yes.
Yeah, Jews are the oldest religion in the history of the humanity, and then Christians came, and then after Muslims. So if you just go according to the beliefs of all these people, I think Jews have the most valid argument on it. And though we should not just claim that the Jews have the best claim on this mosque. We should just try to form a system like all three religions have equal claims, just for the betterment of humanity, and just for the just to stop the violence between all three communities. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. I'll give you a minute, 2 minutes to write. And in the, Beta, what's your name? Who just spoke?
Ma'am Nihal.
Ha, Nihal. Nihal, you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. And I'm not here to differ with you. I would just like to add to your thought that, when we talk about religion, it could be like, the way I told you in the first picture that Jews stand at the outer side of the wall and they pray. Muslims stand, they go inside and play in the prayer in the, sorry, they pray in the mosque. And Christians, they believe that this whole place is very pious and holy for them. So if it's on the name of God, they could very, easily, everyone can just pray and have a spiritual connect with the God. There is no need to be in conflict, because if you're talking about God, then first thing we should learn that we should not be violent. We should not have conflict. We should not have possessiveness. And if we are doing that, that in a way we are defying the very existence of God, the very principles of God, the very notion of God. So I believe there is no such thing as who has the right, though we know that Jews, considering the three, culture, Jews were the oldest one, but still, I believe that there should be no such notion of who, had all the right. Somewhere the controlling idea could be which connect to the God and which talks about their own belief, connecting it to the main idea of supreme God. And why to talk about Jews or Muslims or Christianity? Otherwise, also if you look at other religion like Hindus or Sikh, or there are many other tribes that exist. They have their way of so, but all connect to what? Just a symbol of a supreme being. And if we tend to become self-conceited and very selfish in our approach, then that will definitely create a disharmony in the world, isn't it?
Ma'am, I would just say, though whatever you are saying is correct, but this is not how society works. We are not living in
Very
an
true.
ideal world.
Yes,
Yes, we
very
are
true.
not living in an ideal world, because if such were the case, then we didn't have need any kind of boundaries. There was no need of visa. There is no need of boundaries. We could have because Earth is just one place, and we could all live with such harmony, and there was no need of boundaries. But in this case, this is not how society works. So we have to give benefit of doubt to someone just to just to stop the violence.
Okay,
Because if you talk about ideal situation, then that situation will never arrive. So just to
very true,
maintain the
Nihal.
harmony in our society, we have to give benefit of doubt. That's what I want to say.
Ma'am, I would
Okay,
like to say something.
yes,
Um, Ma'am, the for Jews, there's a wall known as the Wailing Wall. It was a
yes,
part of Solomon's temple,
yes,
and Jews use they don't use they do pray to Moses. He is one of our prophets as well for Muslims, and then Christians, for Christians, Masjid Aqsa is the place where the birth of Christ happened. So we Muslims also believe in Moses and Christ and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And for Muslims, Masjid Aqsa, we used to pray towards it before Kaaba. So for all the three religions, it's very important, and there should have been unity amongst the three religions. But I don't know why only I
mhm.
don't know why Palestinians are being killed. So I just this.
Okay.
It's a
So
place.
Sadia, for you, Sadia, may I ask you, what will be your controlling idea? What would be your main idea of this paragraph?
My main idea would be if there is a place where three religions could have been united, why is there violence over there? There could have been, harmony
Okay.
and peace over there, but I don't know why.
Yes.
Why?
Now, okay, correct. This could be also your main controlling idea where you're talking about that if there could be a place. And then you are talking about belief of Jews and belief of Muslims and belief of Christianity. Correct. Okay, good. Okay. So I believe you feel a little hesitant to read what you have written over here. So I would like to move to, I believe you have developed an understanding that how you will develop your main controlling idea, and that main controlling idea should be visible in your paragraphs or your statements that you're writing. Okay, just a
Ma'am,
moment.
I just want to have your opinion on my speech. Like, don't you think it's high time that we should give the benefit of doubt at least someone or the other, just to stop the violence altogether? Because
Nihal,
no matter
uh,
how many years, there will always be conflict for this place, even if we stop this violence for now only.
I tell you, Nihal, I was just, few days back when this happened, and I was reading about it, trying to understand the historical reason and the treaties that Britishers, the allies they signed with Arab people and with Jews. And I tried to look at those particular scenario. If you group into the matter, you will tend to understand it. It's very complex, and it's all connected with the political intentions, selfish intentions by the Western world, and the treaty that they had signed after First World War. And so, the answer to it, as you were talking about, uh, I believe, is yes, it may be right that Jews should be given, but again, why to talk about, if the Jews are given that right, then the other two may not like it, and then the other two may again be in conflict, saying that why Jews has been given that right. Maybe might be the oldest, but we also have our religious belief intact over there, so we should also get that right to pray there. So what I believe is, it's a religious place. It's a place where God exists, and when we say that it's a replica of God aboard, why can't we have harmony? Why can't we allow everyone to visit that place and pray? And if we look at with this particular, you may call it an utopian ideology or ideology, but I feel it is the best way to keep the conflict away. Otherwise, if you give right to anyone, the other two would be fighting for it. Because though if you read about it, the Britishers and its allies, it gave Israel with the conflict notion that there should be some conflict in the Middle East so that they can grab, their resources, and they should be, and till they'll not be in constant fight, they'll not be able to get the benefit of the resources that Middle East has. So if you go into that, that's a very different thing. But looking at the particular situation on the concept of religion, I still believe that everyone should be given the right. Like you see, you must be visiting, like mosque over here, like we have Hazrat Nizamuddin in Delhi, and it's considered, it has a very long, people have a very long belief, long ages belief on Hazrat Nizamuddin. And even Hindus, they go and visit, and even other religions also, they go and visit and they pay their visit to God. Because for them, what is very important? God, connect to God. Yes, the spirituality, whether be it's mosque, or whether be it's church, or whether be it's gurudwara, or whether be it's temple. So I believe if we develop this kind of an thought process, then only we can come out of the political insinuations created by these power thirsty people. Otherwise, we'll be in conflict. And I was just reading to the versions of Palestinians and the Jewish and all. I felt it's, everyone feels that they are right. But how could everybody, only one person could be right? So I have this notion that there should be, the places where it's a pilgrimage, it should be considered as pilgrimage. If it's a pilgrimage, then it should be open for all, isn't it? Anybody else who would like to put its, thought on it? You can defy. I may not be right always. So I don't believe that you should agree to me, because everybody has the right of their own thinking and belief. But yes, you can ponder on what I had stated, and you may feel that somewhere, to some extent, I may be correct. Yes. So let's move ahead. Now, when we talk about coherence, you see, when we talk about coherence, what is coherence now? Yes. So when we look at coherence is achieved when sentences and ideas are connected and they flow together smoothly. We say that an essay without coherence can inhibit a reader's ability to understand the ideas and main points of the essay. Coherence allows the reader to move easily throughout the essay from one idea to the next, from one sentence to the next, and from one paragraph to the next. Now, what is coherence in layman's language? Coherence is, you can achieve coherence only when your one statement or your idea is well connected with the other statement or idea. Okay. And if, both the statements or all the statements are connected with each other, then we say the paragraph is coherent. Yes. Now, like if you look at the most convincing ideas in the world expressed in the most beautiful sentences, will make no one, unless those understand unless those are very properly connected. You may have written very beautifully, but if they don't have good relatability or good connection between the ideas, then it will be difficult for us to understand. Yes, so unless the reader can easily move from one thought to another, uh, you know the reader cannot say that, okay, this thought is coherent. So coherence refers on the clear and logical linking of the ideas in a paragraph. You see, when you change your main ideas or a topic within a paragraph, then confusion often results. But even when all the sentences in your paragraph are related to and contribute to same meaning in the topic sentence, the paragraph may turn out to be inflective if those sentences are not appropriately and adequately connected. So in other words, each sentence should be well linked with the sentence that provides and follows it. Okay, so coherence is one statement should be well connected to the other statement, one idea should be well connected with the other idea. And what do we refer unity to be? Now, unity in layman's language, if you try to understand that, if one statement is well connected with the other statement, we call it coherence. And if the whole paragraph moves towards one holistic view, then we call it unity. Okay, if a paragraph has all the statements is well connected and they derive towards one holistic view, we call it unity. So we need in order to have coherence, we need sentence to be well framed. Yes, uh, we need unity, we need paragraph created, uh, well framed, and then only we can achieve coherence. So as you read on the slide, unity, it refers to the extent to which all ideas is contained within a given paragraph, hang together in a way that is easy for the reader to understand. So if you look at unity, unity is when the whole statement, all the statements, they refer to one thought or main idea. Then we say that, and it gives a holistic view. Then we say it has unity, and we say the paragraph has coherence. Uh, now, coherence. Yes, so we'll move ahead to look at paragraph unity and coherence. So paragraph should have both coherence and unity. A paragraph with unity develops a single idea thoroughly and links it to the rest of the paper. A paragraph coherence is achieved when the sentences are ordered in a logical manner and when clear transitions link sentences. Now, I would like to tell you, a small bit of my thought that whenever you're writing, like I see fourth semester and second semester, and students from different institute. Now, whenever you are writing your research paper, just remember that when you're writing your paragraph, you write a paragraph, and then you see, first of all, you know very well that when the major thought changes, you have to change a paragraph. So while you're writing your paragraph, you have to see that is the structure simple and lucid? Is the sentence simple and lucid once you have written, and or whether it is complex? Whether you have to, like, whether the writer itself has to reread to understand it, or it can be easily understood by the writer. So the best way of bringing out coherence is to ease out your writing, that is to explain in a simple and lucid manner, because otherwise when we write a thought, it tends to become a little complex and we tend to understand because it's we who have written. But then we have to give a second reading in order to understand that whether the structure is simple and lucid. And simple and lucid only it can become if you put a beautiful explanation to it. You explain, whatever you have stated, and it will give a smooth and ease of reading uh, of your piece of writing that you have done. Okay, so this is my bit uh, of advice to you. Now, to think about paragraph unity, what you have to do, just a small bit of advice to be given in order to create a unity in paragraph. You have to develop up a paragraph around what? A major idea. Just excuse me for a minute. Thank you. Okay. So how will you bring unity in paragraph? You can develop a paragraph around a major idea. So there should be a major idea on which you draft your paragraph, and express this idea in the topic sentence. So the major idea that will be running throughout the paragraph, it should be mentioned clearly in the topic sentence. And generally, I told you that the topic sentence should be in the beginning, and especially when you're talking about all the technical documents, whether it be a research paper, your dissertation, or your thesis, you're writing your proposal, or one step ahead, you're writing your synopsis. It should have, your topic sentence should have that main idea flowing in it, so that it becomes very easy, for your supervisor, for your examiner, or, to understand that what will follow ahead. Now, make the relationship between main idea of the paragraph and the thesis of the paragraph very clear. So, there should be a good connection between the idea of the paragraph and the thesis, that is the main thought that you're keeping throughout the paper. So the topic sentence and the throughout the paper, what you're writing should have a good connection between it. Don't assume that the reader will get it. Spell it out for him or her. So, this, will get it. This is something which is I have mentioned it because I felt that even I sometimes do commit this error, that I feel that the other person will understand. But no, it doesn't happen like that. The person will not understand. We have to give them that understanding because we have written, so we feel that it's very clear. But no, it might not. So explain your idea, explain your thought, and make it easy for your reader to understand it well. When, as I stated, that you have to explain it. So this means you have to support your main idea of the paragraph with details, illustrate, give example, analogies, anecdotes, put all that, and make your statement very clear for the reader to understand. And if we develop this habit, then definitely a piece of writing will become very easy for the reader and for ourselves also to understand. Yes? It's in that statement by Roland Barthes, in which he states that why we say that death of an author should happen, because after 10 years, if you ask the writer that what he has written, he may have some other reasons to give. Yes. So over here, if we connect to it, then our explanation should be, our document that we are writing should be so well explained that even after 10 years, if you read it, it could be very well understood and nobody develops some other, thought process or conclusion to it. Because after all, it's a research paper. It's not that piece of creative piece of writing like your poems or your novel or your play that you're writing. So it should have, at least try to have as much as clarity possible. Well, coming to the clarity part or the writing part, I have so many literary students over here, so I would like to talk about Gayatri Spivak. She wrote Can the Subaltern Speak? Initially when she wrote, it was, and still that piece of writing is considered to be very complex. And people find it very difficult to understand. And so they had created different, interpretations out of it. For example, for that sati, that the women, that the sati, that the thought that she gave, that women should be given a right to decide. Now, people, they had different interpretations and they blamed Gayatri Spivak for it. And she was highly misunderstood because the writing was so complex. And, as a scholar, when I also read, I found it very difficult. But later on, when I read her, many interviews and her explanations, which she wrote about Can the Subaltern Speak, and where she made herself very clear with her thought process, then we realized that no, we don't have so many contradictions which people are putting to it. She's very clear with her notions and she's very clear with her thought. So, that's what happens if we write something with a lot of complexities. It becomes difficult for the reader to understand, and they may have different doubts to come up to. Okay. Uh, Next is create separate paragraph for those details that explore your topic from different perspective. So I have been telling you that if you want to have unity or coherence in your paragraph, you have to create if you change your thought, please change your paragraph. Then eliminate sentences that do not support the main idea. So whenever you feel that you have written something which is not connecting to the main idea, but you feel it's very important, then please try to write in separate paragraph, because obviously you're finding that thought to be very important, but because it's a very different thought, it should be written in different idea, or if it does not connect to the whole thought, then it should be eliminated. Alternately, you may revise your main idea to include those sentences as it is written over here. Okay, I hope you have understood till here. Yes? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you, Vita. Let's look at the statement. Now, the main thesis is on the top of the paper, and this, and there is an example given with which doesn't have unity. Yes, so the main topic, main thought is on top, and then defining the same, we see the this paragraph on it. Please read it, and then we'll move to the paragraph which has unity, which will give you an understanding that actually how we have to bring unity in our thought. So may I read it out? Okay. uh, Despite the main thesis is, despite the amount of foreign aid pouring in, social conditions in Zealand remain bleak because the aid is used for military purposes. Now, we say that this paragraph is without unity. Robert B. wrote, the Zealand massacre illustrates the need for greater control and vigilance. This is related to the thesis. Some 20,000 people disappeared from the villages. Financial mishandling can lead to great misfortune. Corruption in the government was exposed repeatedly to no avail. A police force under orders to eliminate suspected terrorists grabbed political dissidents and their families. Now you see why we say it does not have unity, because all the statements are not, we can say the order of the statement is not right. The statement which should be first, the statement which should be second, or the statement which should be third, and the emphasis is also missing over here. So we see that right ordering and right emphasis is missing in the statement. Yes or no? And so we can say that all the thought is written, but it is not unified because the ordering and the emphasis is not. It has, it has been faulty created. There's a fault in its creation. Let's move to next example, which will give us an understanding. Now this is unified. So the pogrom of May 3, 1987 exemplifies how foreign aid funds were appropriated for repressive rather than a social development purposes. On that day, some 20,000 people were abducted from villages in the countryside, charged as traitors and summarily executed. Then Governor for Life, Zili Zilafon, had recently used $5 billion in aid to create a standing paramilitary police force. Without some restrictive control over the aid, human rights organizations were unable to prevent the buildup and unleashing of this disaster. Robert B., the director of the development as Freedom Foundation wrote, the Zealand massacre illustrates the need for greater control and vigilance. So the same thing has been written. Actually, the same statement has been used, but has been framed correctly, where right order and right emphasis have been made, which shows that, it has unity. Now, when we talk about when we talk about unity, we have to understand that what should go first. So we have to talk about the concept, of pogrom, that where foreign funds have been, how they have been used inappropriately, and how repressive uh, environment has increased. Then we have to talk about explaining it, how the 10,000 people were abducted and what all, they were charged as being traitors and summarily executed. Then we'll talk about that, how, you know, the on top of that, what happened, that Zili Zilfan, the governor, what he did, he used $5 billion, which should be used for the social development, for the welfare of the people. It was used to create a paramilitary force. And even the human rights, with some restrictive control, there were control over the aid. Human rights were still were not able to prevent this disaster. That disaster was being built up. And so Robert B., the director of development as Freedom Foundation, wrote that Zealand massacre illustrates the need for greater control and vigilance. So what I just mean to say is that when you want to bring unity in a paragraph, or you want to make your paragraph coherent, one statement. So in order to make your paragraph coherent, you have to understand first that what is your main topic? What is your main thought? That should be kept first. Then you have to understand that your main thought should be derived out of it, and you should explain your main thought by connecting one statement with the other. Yes, and then only you can achieve coherence or unity in a paragraph. Okay, clear? Is it clear to you? Or you would like to make me read you, like give you some time to read example 1 and example 2, or is it clear to you?
It is very clear, ma'am.
Thank you, Yajna. Okay, now we'll talk about I'll go through this advocate development. How could you do this? How can we achieve it? So in order to develop a paragraph properly, we need to describe, explain, and support the topic sentence. So I'll just quickly look at it. There are 5 steps in developing, effective paragraph. It is formulation of controlling idea. First, you have to, in your thought, uh, you know, we have to think of a controlling idea. We have to formulate that controlling idea, that which will run throughout a paragraph. Okay, as a main thought. And then once you have created that main idea, or your controlling idea, or your topic sentence, what you have to do, you have to explain that controlling idea, writing one statement well connected to the other statement. Yes. Now, in order to make your statements, that main controlling idea, very clear, you have written your statements. Yes, you've written your different sentences, well connected sentences. What will you do after that? You will put example in order to make it more clear to the audience, to the reader. Rather, what will you do? You will explain it. You will put examples to it. Okay, and then you will give signs of example. That is, you will try to make examples also little clear. You will give your explanation of those examples, and then only if you have given that explanation of that example, then completion of paragraphs, ideas, or transition into next paragraph can only take place. Okay, so once you have explained your example, then what you can do, now you can beautifully move on to next paragraph, because the paragraph's idea is complete now. So this is a way to create effective paragraph. Again, to repeat, what you have to do, you have to just think of, create a main, important, significant controlling idea, which will be your topic sentence. And that controlling idea should be visible in all your sentences, should be weighed in all your sentences. Okay. Now, if you have created a controlling idea, that controlling idea should be explained. So how will it be explained? It will be explained by your statements, which you'll be writing, deriving a justification for your controlling idea, writing one statement, then connecting another statement, connecting third statement, likewise. And in order to make your controlling idea very clear, you have written statements for it, but you need to, if very important, you need to give examples also for it. Yes, then you need to explain that example so that there is no doubt in the mind of the reader. And once you have completed that explanation of the example, what you need to do, you need to move into, now you are free to move to next paragraph. Okay, so this means, just again to, you know, uh, give you a very clear understanding that a paragraph means it should have one thought, pervading throughout the paragraph. Okay, so a change of major idea means change of paragraph. Okay, clear to you? Students, may I have a response from you? Is it clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now I would like you to, just do this exercise, and I would know that whether you have understood my thought correctly or not. You've understood I would not say lecture, but the session, what I wanted to convey to you all. Is it clear to you or not? So just let me unshare and copy this. Yeah. So it's a time for question answer session. So do you have any questions? First of all, I would like to say thank you for being such a patient listener. Yes. And I'm really thankful for the ones who interacted with me. And I hope we'll get more students to interact. In the next session, I just want to tell you that in the next session, we'll talk about, like in this session, we had discussed what all we require, the primary steps to have coherence. And then we'll talk about the secondary steps of coherence, that is nitty-gritties of coherence, that is, we call it either mechanism or device or connectors. So we'll learn about those connectors or device or mechanisms to achieve coherence. Okay, so we had taken up the primary step of coherence, and tomorrow we'll take up the secondary steps of coherence, that is, we call it mechanism, device, connectors, or linking ideas. Got it? So tomorrow the class will be very important for you, because you'll learn the the explicit steps. What I had discussed today was the implicit steps for achieving coherence. Now we'll talk about the explicit steps for achieving coherence. And with this, now it's time for a question and answer session. Anybody who would like to ask any question? Talking about session, what was your takeaway from the session? How did you find the session?
Thank you, ma'am. We really enjoyed the session.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Really? Or it's just sweet quoted words?
No,
To
ma'am.
say,
No,
to follow the protocol.
Ma'am, the quiz that you gave was very helpful, ma'am, to revise all what we have learned.
Thank you, beta. Anything else which you anything else which you would like to state? Any query?
No, ma'am. Looking forward for tomorrow.
Okay. Did you find this class to be helpful? Were you able to understand, or Acha, tell me frankly, I just experimented with this particular picture of Al-Aqsa mosque to derive your thought, on coherence. Could you understand what I meant? Were you able to, assimilate my concept?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, it was quite clear, and we realized that many of these mistakes are things that we make commonly. Like we say words like return back, basic, fundamental. I mean, we use the words together without realizing that they are a form of repetition. So this was very helpful session, ma'am. Honestly.
Thank you, Shivani. And any feedback, a feedback that will help me to improve? Because there's always a scope for improvement till I reach the grave, isn't it? So any feedback that you want to give me, Beta? That where you felt that it was not well connected, or where I need to elaborate on it, or I need to go slow. Anything which you would like to give me as an advice, piece of advice.
Ma'am, I want to say that many of the students could not attend the whole lecture because our classes were clashing. So like we had our classes up till 3:15, and then after that we joined. So we we were not able to know what all the lecture was about.
Okay. Oh God. So it was difficult for you to connect that what I was talking about.
Yes, ma'am. I joined at 3:20 something, and
Oh,
I could just give the quiz like with general understanding. And
oh, acha, you joined at 3:20. Oh yeah, by the time almost the whole lecture was complete. Yes, I can understand that. But well, the gist of my whole lecture, you could see it in the form, that I have given in the form of exercise. So if you're able to just get your clarity on those questions, please do understand that you have understood my lecture. Okay. Yes, the next session will be very important because I will be talking about exactly on coherence, that how to achieve it. Okay. So, but in that also I will create exercises, and the ones who will not be able to attend, you can take those, a link of those Google form from your friends, and that will again give you a good understanding. Because I know your lectures are also very important. Is actually very important because the session is almost as over, and we need to complete the lectures and content. So, anything else? Because you have to write a research paper this time. I know many of you, I can see, are from fourth semester, and even the second semester have to write a research paper. So any
Ma'am,
query?
I have a ma'am, I want to ask that I have read all the content. I know that what I have to write, but when teacher set a guideline that you have to complete the 2,000 word limit, that is that becomes very difficult to complete the
Okay,
2,000 word limit.
Yashika, should I tell you a method, beta? Because why we
Yes.
can, because you see, we are like you only. We keep on writing research papers. So it's just that we are a little ahead on the road of writing than you people. You have just started. But you see, method of writing a research paper is, first of all, first of all, you have to think about the area in which you're interested. If you pick up a research paper on the area in which you're very interested, you'll be able to do justice, because then you will have a keen interest to write a paper on it. Okay, like for example, feminism, political issue, social issue, individualism, concept of absurdity, or cultural, difference. These there are many other topic that you can pick up, and what you can do, just pick up the topic, and then pick up area, and then you think of the writers. Do a search on net, on that particular area, the writers which exist, the books that they have written, and you can just pick up any book by reading. Scanning method you must have studied in your school. So just scanning through, through the excerpt or through the reviews, you will catch hold of a book which will really interest you. Pick up that book. Okay. Now, when you have picked up that book, now you have to also use research methodology. Because when you're writing a book, like you're writing your analysis on a book, you need some kind of parallel criticisms. You need kind of a research methodology. So for research methodology, you can pick up, like in fourth semester, they have to pick up 2 secondary sources or text. Actually, what is that 2 secondary sources or text? That's a research methodology. You're picking up, making 2 secondary sources, somewhere connecting it with your main topic and presenting your thought. So over here, what you do, you pick up any critique, like if you picked up feminism, so per se. So if you pick up feminism, what you do, you can, if you're talking about Indian writing, then you can pick up Mahashweta Devi, you can pick up Gayatri Spivak. If you're talking about Western thought, then you can, I mean, you can even use in Indian thought your Western thought, like Simone de Beauvoir, he very rightly talks about, universal statement about feminism. So likewise, you pick up, and while writing your thought, pick up important thoughts of other writers, but majorly you have to look at those feminist critique, you whom you want to really analyze with. So create a beautiful interrelation of those statements where you have to remember your main controlling idea and thought. So what you have to do, you first have to write your introduction. For example, if it's a research paper, so first you have to write an introduction. In an introduction, what will you do? You will write why have you picked up this topic, what is the objective of the topic, how you will be analyzing it, what research methodology you'll be using it, and what will be your main finding out of it. And then this much you've written in your introduction. Then what will you do? You'll go ahead with your content. Now you will start analyzing that book. For example, feminism. So with the reflection on feminism, you will discuss the whole, book. That what all, first you'll read that book, and then you will read those, like I told you, like for example, Gayatri Spivak or Simone de Beauvoir, and you just read a little bit, develop a concept about what they have stated, and now you pick up your writing and you develop your understanding, your idea, that how, like for example, Shashi Deshpande's Dark Holds No Terror. You don't have to take it in your research paper because it's not allowed. But still, just to give you an understanding, Shashi Deshpande's Dark Holds No Terror, if you picked up, now if you have to do a feminist reading, you look at the present society of India, you look at what she has written, create a parallel to it, a concept to it, your own thought to it, and what you have did, you validated your thought with the critique's thought process, or some other book in which it was stated, and this way you will complete your analysis. In the end, your conclusion will be your finding. Okay, your finding of your research paper, that what you found, conclusion would be always better your finding, what you found in the research paper. And then you will conclude your research paper talking about it, and that's it. So this is how you go about with your research paper. This is my understanding of writing research paper, what I have learned from my supervisor, what I have learned from my place of education. And this is actually, we teachers, we do. Okay.
And ma'am, I want to ask something more. It can be silly, but I want to ask.
How, beta? Go ahead.
Ma'am, as I always heard that the light color for the PPT is good, it's attractive. But whenever I want to make a PPT or anything, the dark color suits a lot to that content. So, but will you suggest that I should use dark and light?
See, I tell you one thing, beta. What's your name? I can't see the name. Yashika.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Yashika, I would like to give you a reply for this, beta. See, online classes, it's very easy. You can use dark color also. Why you can use dark color? Because it's through your screen you're seeing it. So whether you're using dark color or whether you're using light color, still visibility issue will not be so much. But generally, it is suggested that to use light color, and on light color, you use dark color font, because you see, when the presentation takes place in a proper space, physical space, in a class or in a hall, there what you're doing, you're flashing it on the screen. Your words through projector, it is flashing it on the screen. So once it flashes on the screen, if it's a dark color background that you have used, the visibility issue will come. And I tell you, it's people like us who've been giving presentation, we also commit this error. We get carried away with the color notion. But you have to understand this thought that online platform, it's not a problem. If you're giving your presentation through online platform, it will not be a problem. But if you'll be giving it through in a physical space, there it might become a problem, because it will be shared on the screen, on the wall. And there, if it's a dark color that you have used, then and with dark color font, oh my God, the visibility issue will be really high. Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. So with this, it's time now. Any other query, or so we should end? If you don't have any query, we can end.
Ma'am, may I interrupt?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I think you can take the queries tomorrow, because tomorrow also you have a session with them, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.